She said, "If you're unhappy, the door's right there." The way she said it, calm, dismissive, like she was bored of me. That was the moment something in me snapped quietly. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. When I told her I didn't like the way she flirted, I expected at least a conversation, maybe an apology. What I got instead was sarcasm, rolled eyes, and a smile that made me feel small. I'm not a jealous guy. I'm not the type who checks phones or gets weird when my girlfriend talks to another man. But that night, I was sitting at the bar, watching her lean over the counter, brushing her hand across the bartender's forearm, laughing that exact same way she laughed when we first met, like the whole world had stopped for her and whoever she was looking at. 3 times she touched him. 3. Each time, a little longer. We were at her co-worker's birthday party. I had driven us there, paid for parking, bought the first round, and spent most of the evening standing alone while she floated around the room, collecting attention like it was oxygen. When she finally came back to the table, drink in hand, cheeks flushed, I kept my voice steady. "Can we talk for a sec?" She didn't even look up at me. Her eyes were still tracking the bartender. "What's up?" "The flirting. It's getting kind of uncomfortable." That made her turn. One eyebrow raised, lips twisted. "Flirting?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "You touched his arm 3 times. Played with your hair. Did the laugh." "The laugh?" she said, mocking me. "The one you do when you're into someone. You did it on our first date." She rolled her eyes so hard I swear I heard them move. "God, you're being insecure again. It's not attractive, Evan." "I'm not insecure," I said. "I'm telling you what makes me uncomfortable." She sighed, loud and dramatic, like she was exhausted by the burden of having to care about someone else's feelings. "You're exhausting. I can't even be nice to people without you making it weird. There's nice, and then there's flirting," I said. "You know the difference." That's when she stood up, drink in hand, and gestured toward the door with a lazy smirk. "You know what? If you're that unhappy, the door's right there. Nobody's forcing you to stay." I remember staring at her, the music from the party thumping in the background, her face half lit by neon. "That's your response? What do you want me to say? Sorry for having a personality? Sorry for not being a shut-in like you?" I laughed under my breath, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. "I just asked you to stop flirting with other men. And I'm telling you," she said, sipping her drink, "if you don't like how I act, there's the door. Use it or stop whining." There it was, the entitlement, the dismissal, like my feelings were an inconvenience she had to tolerate. So I smiled just a little and said, "Thanks for the reminder." She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing," I said. "Enjoy your party." I dropped a few bills on the table for my tab and walked out. She didn't follow. Probably didn't even notice until 20 minutes later when she ran out of people to impress. The night air felt different. Sharp, real. I drove home to our apartment. Technically, it was my apartment. She'd moved in 8 months ago, but never got around to putting her name on the lease. Never switched her mail. Everything, the furniture, the TV, the books, the bills. It was all mine. Her contributions? Throw pillows, scented candles, and that go dollful live, laugh, love sign I'd beg her not to buy. I sat on the couch and stared around the living room. Everything that made this place a home came from me. The stability, the money, the effort. She just existed inside it like a tourist who didn't want to pay rent. My phone buzzed. "Wow, you seriously left?" So dramatic. Whatever. Jake's giving me a ride home. Jake, the bartender. That was it. The decision clicked. She was right. The door was right there. Time to use it. But not in the way she expected. First thing I did, change the Netflix password. Then the electric bill, which was under my name only, scheduled for disconnection at the end of the month. Internet? Same deal. She used that Wi-Fi for her remote design job. Claimed she was freelance. But it was really just her getting sporadic gigs and spending the rest of the time on TikTok. Then I went to the bedroom and pulled out my suitcase. The same one I'd used when I first moved into this apartment, when everything still felt new and full of possibility. Evan the reliable. Evan the quiet. Evan who never made a fuss. That's who she thought I was. But she didn't know about the promotion I'd gotten last month, the one that came with a relocation option and a corporate apartment. I hadn't told her because I knew she'd complain about me working too much again. I packed everything I needed, clothes, toiletries, my laptop, documents, and my peace of mind. Before leaving, I wrote a note and left it on the counter. You were right. The door was right there. I used it. The apartment's paid through the end of the month. After that, it's your problem. Or Jake's. Good luck. I locked the door behind me and didn't look back. Checked into a hotel using the corporate card. Why not? I'd save the company thousands by not using the relocation budget earlier. Slept like a baby that night. First time in months. I knew she'd blow up eventually. The extinction burst, they call it, when someone realizes their manipulation doesn't work anymore. But for now, I had silence. 3 days later, I turned my phone back on. 73 missed calls, 149 texts, 28 voicemails. The progression was predictable. Saturday night. Really? You left? Over one conversation? You're being childish. Hello? Are you serious? Fine. Be that way. Jake drove me home. Big deal. Sunday morning. Where's all your stuff? This isn't funny. I found your stupid note. You're so dramatic. Then, Netflix won't work. Why did you change the password? That's so petty. My show drops tonight. Evan, please come home. I didn't mean it. The apartment feels weird without you. Monday morning. Did you cancel the internet? I work from home. You can't do this to me. This is abuse. Abuse. That word made me laugh out loud. Apparently, setting boundaries was abusive now. She called my mom. My mom called me laughing. Evan, honey, Tara says you abandoned her. Mom, she told me to leave if I was unhappy. So I did. Good, Mom said. I never liked how she talked to you. You never said anything. You weren't ready to hear it. Are you safe? Yeah, corporate housing. It's nice. Need anything? Just your support. Always. And by the way, I told her to lose my number. God, I love my mom. Next came the friends. My buddy Drew texted me. Yo, Tara's blowing up my phone. Says you went psycho. Me? I moved out. She told me to leave if I was unhappy. About time, bro. She treated you like furniture. That one hit hard. Furniture? I asked. Yeah, useful to have around, but not worth respecting. We all saw it, man. They'd noticed. Everyone had. They'd just been waiting for me to wake up. By Wednesday, she tried one more stunt. She showed up at my office. Receptionist buzzed me. There's a woman here named Tara. Says it's an emergency. Tell her all communication needs to go through email. I said, if she refuses to leave, call security. From my office window, I watched her get escorted out. She tried to kick the glass door on her way. That afternoon, HR called me in. Evan, we had an incident with someone claiming to be your girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend. I corrected. She's not handling the breakup well. She said you stole shared property. I took my own belongings from my own apartment. I said. She's upset. I'm not paying her bills anymore. HR nodded slowly. Understood. We'll flag her name with security. Let us know if you need anything. Corporate housing came with perks, like a security team that took things seriously. But Thursday night, things got even better. She posted on social media a long rant about narcissistic exes who abandoned their partners. Tagged me, of course. Posted cropped screenshots of our texts to make herself look like the victim. Her friends flooded the comments. Men are trash. You deserve better, babe. He couldn't handle a real woman. Then someone unexpected commented, Jake, the bartender. Wait, this the guy you said was controlling? The one you told me you were done with. The comments went quiet. Then, Tara, didn't you go home with Jake that night? Girl, you said you were single when you were flirting with my brother. Hold up, didn't you tell me you were planning to dump him last week? The post vanished within an hour, but not before my buddy Drew sent me screenshots. Turns out, she'd been telling people we were basically broken up for weeks, testing the waters, lining up replacements. Jake thought he was her rebound. When he found out he was the reason for the drama, he bailed. Meanwhile, I signed a lease for a new apartment. Smaller, but mine. No live, laugh, love signs. No walking on eggshells in my own home. That first night, I sat on the couch, my couch, and realized how beautiful silence could be when it wasn't filled with tension. For the first time in years, I felt peace. The peace lasted about a week before the first cracks in her new life started to show. I blocked her number, but friends kept sending me screenshots. Tara had gone from posting filtered selfies and cryptic quotes to begging posts about starting over. Her captions read like pity traps. When people show you who they are, believe them. Then, the next day, I just want to go home. Apparently, home was now a half-empty apartment she couldn't afford. The power company sent the final notice. Internet cut off right after. She'd never bothered to learn how to pay bills online. She always just forwarded them to me. Meanwhile, I was adjusting to corporate housing. Free gym, clean sheets, peace. My mornings started with silence instead of an argument about dishes. My evenings ended without someone accusing me of killing the vibe. By the second week, Drew texted me again. "Bro, Tara's telling people you stole her furniture." I laughed. Everything in that place was mine. "Yeah, she's trying to sell your couch on Marketplace." I called the leasing office. They confirmed she wasn't on the lease. So I gave notice. The unit would revert to me until the term ended. If she wanted to stay, she'd have to qualify on her own. Spoiler, she didn't. 2 days later, she posted a story about toxic landlords kicking women out. Same old victim song. I didn't reply, didn't correct her. Silence does more damage than shouting ever could. The next message came from an unknown number. "You won. Are you happy?" I didn't answer. Because yes, I was. 2 weeks passed before I heard from her again. This time, it wasn't a text or a call. It was a knock. I wasn't even surprised. People like Tara always circle back once the silence gets too loud. I looked through the peephole of my new apartment and saw her standing there. Same posture, different energy. No makeup, messy hair. Hoodie too big for her. She used to look like she owned every room she walked into. Now she looked like she was borrowing space she didn't belong in. I opened the door just enough to block her path. "What do you need, Tara?" She blinked fast, probably rehearsing what to say. I wanted to talk." "About what?" Her voice cracked. "You blocked me. I didn't know where else to go." I crossed my arms. That was the point. She gave a weak laugh, the kind that hides embarrassment. "Look, I get it. I messed up. I was mean and I took you for granted. But can we just talk? Please." I stepped aside just enough for her to think she could enter, then shook my head. "You can talk from there." She swallowed hard. "The apartment's gone." I said nothing. They ended the lease. I couldn't pay it. I'm staying with Becca right now, but she's already talking about finding someone else. She looked up at me, eyes glistening. "I didn't think you'd actually leave, Evan." "Yeah," I said quietly. "You made that pretty clear when you told me to use the door." She flinched. "I didn't mean it like that." "You said it 3 times. Her shoulders dropped. "I know." Silence. Just the sound of cars outside, wind pushing through the hallway. Then she whispered, "I miss you." I studied her for a long moment. I thought about all the times I'd come home to her mood swings, the way she'd turn small things into explosions, how I'd learned to speak less just to keep the peace. And now here she was, small and quiet, realizing too late that peace was what I've been offering her all along. "I don't miss who you were," I said finally, "and I don't miss who I was when I was with you." She looked at me like I'd slapped her. "You don't mean that." "I do. You wanted me quiet. You wanted control. You didn't want a partner. You wanted someone to orbit around you." Tears finally fell. "I know, okay? I get it now. I thought I was better than you, and I wasn't. I lost everything." I nodded slowly. Sometimes that's the only way people learn what they had. She reached out like she might touch my arm. I stepped back. Don't, I said. She froze, her hand hanging in the air like she didn't know what to do with it. You told me to use the door if I was unhappy, I said. So I did, and I'm not walking back through it. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I guess I deserve that. You do, I said, but I hope you fix it for yourself, not for me. She turned to leave. At the elevator, she stopped and looked back once. You really were the best thing that ever happened to me. I know, I said, and closed the door. For the first time, the sound of the latch clicking felt final. Not angry, not bitter. Just done. That night, I sat on my couch, the one I bought myself, in the apartment I built from nothing. No candles, no fake positivity signs, no drama. Just quiet. And somewhere across the city, I knew a woman was sitting in someone else's spare room, realizing that her life had finally stopped being about who she could use, and started being about who she'd lost. It's funny how peace feels loud when you're not used to it. For months, I'd wake up expecting chaos. A slammed door, a passive-aggressive sigh, the sound of someone scrolling through my phone when they thought I was asleep. But now, mornings were quiet. Too quiet at first. Then, slowly just right, I started cooking again. Not the quick survival meals I used to throw together when Tara complained I was taking too long. Real food, eggs, toast, coffee brewed the way I liked it. I even got into running. There's something healing about moving forward, one step at a time, with nothing chasing you anymore. My work picked up too. That job I'd almost turned down to keep her happy, it turned into a promotion. New city, new people, a bigger office with a view of downtown. Life stopped feeling like something I was apologizing for. Every now and then, I'd get updates about her. Not because I looked. People just love delivering drama, like it's news. Becca told a co-worker that Tara had moved back with her parents for a while. Apparently, she'd burned through her savings trying to prove she was fine without me. Her freelancing gig didn't last, and the guy she flirted with while we were together had ghosted her months ago. Karma doesn't always make a scene. Sometimes it just quietly locks all your doors and leaves you outside. I didn't smile when I heard it. Not out of pity, not out of pride. Just clarity. She'd built her life on attention. I'd built mine on effort. One of those things lasts longer than the other. 6 months later, she reached out one last time. A long email. Paragraphs of half apologies, self-reflection, and just enough self-pity to remind me nothing had changed. She said she'd started therapy, that she finally understood what she'd done to people who tried to love her. She said she hoped I was happy. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because there was nothing left to say. Some stories don't need an epilogue. Some endings aren't about revenge. They're about release. A few nights later, I sat on my balcony watching the city lights stretch out below. The air was cool, clean, unbothered. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about who I used to be or what I'd lost, just who I'd become. The thing about revenge is, it's not always about payback. Sometimes it's just about becoming everything they said you couldn't be, and letting them watch from far, far away. I raised my glass to no one in particular and said softly, "Thanks for the reminder," because that's what she was now. Just a reminder of how far I'd come after finally walking through that door. And this time, I never looked back. And with that, our story comes to an end. But the real story begins with your thoughts. What would you do if you were in this situation? Let me know in the comments.